And I am live, back from my little hiatus, catching up with some college work, but we're going to have some fun tonight. I am joined by the ever wonderful, esteemed, the Politicrat. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing pretty good, despite all of the chaos of Clown World.
Oh yeah, no, it's been fun. So it's funny. I was watching the sports bowl last night, or at least little bits of it, and so for all this time, so I'd heard people talking about the Black National Anthem, and I thought it was like an internet meme or a joke, and then I found out that there actually is a quote unquote Black National Anthem, and they did it before the Super Bowl, and I was like, it was actually I wasn't even like pissed or anything. I just found it really funny. And just the lack of self-unawareness that like having two national anthems, one specifically catered towards blacks. It's almost as if the NFL is saying, like, they're not normal Americans. Let's like separate them and give them their own national anthem because they're not like actual Americans. And the lack of self-awareness is hilarious.
It kind of is, but these are, again, they're the same people who would tell you that we need reparations as they burglarize and steal the Adidas from the store they just robbed.
Do you actually want to hear? Do you actually want to hear my plan for reparations?
Let's go ahead and hear it.
$1 billion a month to every single former slave alive today. I think it's brilliant.
And what's the logic behind that?
How many former slaves are alive today?
0.
My point exactly.
That's not bad, actually. So speaking of the sports ball event, I didn't watch it at all. I even forgot it was happening, actually, until my friend reminded me it was happening last night. So disconnected from the normie propaganda. But I don't know. What do you think about the ads this year? Do you think there's any interesting standouts?
Let's see. Okay, so I think actually the ad for the new Flash movie, as crazy as Ezra Miller is, I actually think that looks promising. Mostly because Michael Keaton's returning as Batman. What else? There was the one. There was one. It was kind of funny. It was a little. It wasn't super irreverent, unfortunately. But there was that one with like the President Peanut that was kind of funny. And then, oh God, there was the one with the Chinese balloon. That was pretty funny. But other than that, I like turned it off about a third to halfway through to watch Goiper-View instead. And I ended up watching like episode 5 of The Last of Us, which is actually not a bad show. I actually think it improves on the game in some ways.
Well, anything's better than watching black men fight over a football while we cheer on which team is going to win, So
there was a guy whose last name was Sneed, and it was funny.
Well, many such cases there. However, I did hear about one ad that was apparently super controversial. Apparently, it was called. It was about Jesus Christ. Apparently, it was pretty kind of normie Christian conservative take, as Aaron McIntyre pointed out. However, all of these leftard YouTubers, not you, I'm talking about the slob out there, making videos about it, talking about how this fascist propaganda is being perpetrated on our TV channels. So this is the coming of Mustache Man. What do you think?
What funny Mustache Man?
Yeah, is this the inevitable theocracy that we were all warned about?
That's insane. So they don't like an ad just because it featured Jesus. Like, here's the weird thing. Like, nobody, I unironically, I don't think anybody actually hates Jesus. It's just fashionable to shit on Christianity. But the people who shit on Christianity, they're like the ones who are like, oh yeah, no, Jesus doesn't like religion and stuff like that. And Christianity is like everything that Jesus is against. And it's like, yeah, I guess some actions are. As he was like
I'm not going to go into detail. Some of the actions that people have done in the name of Christianity, sure, are antithetical to things that Jesus taught. And Jesus would probably be pissed at the state of modern Christianity for multiple reasons, mostly because of boomer evangelicals and because of woke Christians. But either way, I just, a lot of them basically, I just hate this whole notion that Jesus was just some liberal hippie. There are three different kinds of Jesuses. There's actual Jesus, who's like actual Jesus that you read about in the Bible. And then you have the other two Jesuses are
Che Guevara.
Well, you have hippie socialist Jesus, and then you have what I like to call supply side Jesus, who's like what the boomercons believe in. The boomercons believe in supply side Jesus.
So, why do they call him supply side?
It's a joke, reference supply side economics.
Okay, yeah.
And I say that as I jokingly say, I say that as somebody who's not necessarily opposed to certain aspects of supply side economics, especially because I studied econ at like the most libertarian econ department in the country. I'm not going to say which one, but like if you Google it, you will find it out. You'll know what it is. But yeah.
No, I just find it funny when they freak out over like just like the most mild form, as Aaron McIntyre put it, of normie Christianity, and they instantly flip out as if it's it's the coming of the theocracy that CNN has been warning them about. Brian Stelter and Chuck Toad.
Did you guys know that the Episcopalians are going to bring about fascism in America?
I wish. It ain't happening though. I mean, come on, Tucker Carlson's part of the Episcopalians. I really don't think it's gonna happen.
No, so am I actually. But I label myself. I call myself an Anglican because Anglican implies the theology itself, and Episcopalian is just like the American branch of the church. So, but either way, what else about this sports bowl? Is there even really anything else to talk about? Like, isn't Ben Shapiro getting triggered by like the halftime show or something?
I guess, but I mean, like, he freaks out over he's been doing the same thing since 2015. I mean, pretty.
Oh yeah, no, he's a one trick pony. I don't even hate him. I kind of respect him in a weird way. Like, I'd have a beer with the guy, but I just think he's cringe.
I think he's mega cringe for advocating for endless wars for his benefit.
Okay, I do think that Matt Walsh can be based sometimes.
Yeah, I think we can agree. And Michael Knowles is the best personality out of the Daily Wire crew.
I'm not a huge fan of Michael Knowles. I just think he seems like a smarter, like non-evangelical version of Charlie Kirk to me. But Charlie Kirk might be the worst, other than Dave Rubin, but that's a given.
Yeah, well, it's probably just because he has that smile on his face and like he just looks like he hasn't done cocaine like Charlie Kirk every single night,
Oh yeah, Charlie Kirk. I just think Charlie Kirk's just embarrassing. Like, I don't know. I've just never been a huge fan of Charlie Kirk. He's just a grifter. And then also, I never found Steven Crowder particularly funny. I watched like one Star Wars parody video he made in 2016, and I'm like, is this the guy everyone's talking about? And it's not even because of his politics that I hate him. Like, he's a boomercon, and that's cringe. But I don't know. And again, this isn't me. Like, I just feel the disclaimer. I'm not like anti-gay or anything. Like, actually, that's I guess kind of one of my hot takes in the NRX community. I mean, I'm not NRX either, but like, I guess I float in those circles. But Steven Crowder's totally a homo. Like, I think he's closeted. Like, there's no way he is not a closeted homosexual.
No, this is the same guy who like was like talking about on Twitter. I forgot where he said it, but he was like, I struggle with the urge not to like dress as a woman. I'm just like, this is what conservatives cheer on. It's just like, it's an absolute embarrassment. But this is the champion of conservatism, guys. A guy who like struggles like with the urge to cross dress every day, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know. We do indeed live in clown world.
Well, yeah. Speaking of clown world, I mean,
Oh,
where do we even
go.
start?
Here we go.
Where do we even start? We got Pete Buttigieg's train system blowing up everywhere now. We got UFOs or Winnie the Pooh balloons, as I like to call them, just being shot down all of a sudden. You know, it's like where to even start with the situation here. I guess we should start with like the Chernobyl in Ohio.
Yeah, is it? So I don't know much about it. Like, is it actually that bad?
I'm not quite sure, but from what I heard, the chemicals apparently have gotten into the Ohio River, which can't be good at all.
That is not good. Yeah. What's interesting is why is the media not covering it as much? Like, I'm surprised. That's the one thing I'm surprised. Like, I Google it, barely anything comes up about it. Are they like? Is the media trying to smear it as like some sort of right-wing propaganda now?
No, I would just say they're not covering it just because, well, they're the gatekeepers of the narrative. Unless they can spin it in some way that benefits the Uniparty, I don't see why they would cover it because it makes their administration look incompetent.
I mean, aren't they? Like, even the left agrees. Like, I mean, the actual left, like debate, like, and I use based lightly here, but the quote unquote based left, as in like the Jimmy Dore, even to a lesser extent Kyle Kulinski, even though he's cringe. But I'll be nice and call it the based left because they're not like as cringe as other ones. But you know what I mean.
The non-woke left.
Yeah, the ones you can actually have a conversation with.
Yeah, but it just like strikes me that like so their brilliant solution, you know, Pete Buttigieg's national transportation, solution to this train derailment of chemicals, which keep in mind are poisonous, was to just light it on fire, just to burn it. Third world solutions for a dying society. Apparently,
I don't know if you know James Kirkpatrick on Twitter, but Kevin DeAnna, he was sort of big in dissident spheres back in like, I don't think he was ever quote unquote like alt-right or anything, but he definitely like I think flirted with some of those ideas. He writes for he writes for VDare now. I've had him on, but so he had an interesting take on Twitter, I think yesterday, where he talked about the same people who like aren't covering this or aren't even talking about this are the same people who complain about quote unquote environmental racism, which is like one of the dumbest concepts that has come out of probably the past 5 years with regards to environmentalism and climate change.
I don't know, man. I think air conditioners being sexist is up there.
No, is that actually a thing?
Yes, that was a thing back in Gamergate.
Please
tell me.
Yeah,
so they had an article basically saying that air conditioners are sexist because men have thicker skin, so therefore it doesn't affect them in the office.
What? That's just like a biological reality.
Well, yeah, but these people don't care about biology. They care about who can be the most. It's a race to the bottom with these people. Did you not see that story of like that guy who dressed up as a deer and was like a tranny, but like got shot by a hunter because he thought he was a deer?
No.
Oh, and they were saying it was justice because they finally identified him with his proper gender for being an animal. And I'm just like,
no, this can't be true. It sounds like Babylon Bee or The Onion or one of those funny sites. Like, is this actually true?
I'm like 80% sure it's true.
Oh my god, that is hysterical. Like, poor guy, or poor deer, if I'm going to use his proper gender. Poor deer.
Yeah, we went on misgender him. Hopefully the hunter can still hang those antlers up, I guess. I don't know what the laws behind that.
I did get banned by dollar store ContraPoints today.
Do tell. Why?
Philosophy Tube, Philosophy Tube, who's basically just a ContraPoints knockoff at this point.
Yes, I'm aware.
Yeah. So she, they, whatever, was saying, oh, don't use the word they to refer to a transgender person who identifies as she. Like, that is based, you're still misgendering them. And like, I will block anybody who uses the word they. And my response was, well, you do realize that the word they encompasses both he and she, and is like a blanket singular you could use. And also the word they has been singular since like the 1200s. And then I said something like that. And then I had that GIF that was like, the more you know, from like those NBC PSAs from like the 80s. And then I got blocked. And then all these like these leftoids were dogpiling me and saying I was a transphobe for using the word they, when I actually think that's pretty reasonable. Like, I mean, compared to most people on the DR, I'm the closest thing on the DR you could get to quote unquote woke. I mean, I'm not, but like, I guess like a lot of you guys would consider that. Like, I'm reasonable. I'm the sensible centrist, right? So they were. It was just all these people were dogpiling me. It's like, you can't satisfy these quote unquote people. Like, you just can't make them happy. They enjoy being like quote unquote oppressed. Like, I actually feel like it's like a fetish for them at this point.
No, I think that's why they talk about Mustache Man and the mid-century Germans so much. Actually, is because they did have a father. Like they're craving that domination by a man in their lives. No, but I think that's why they can't stop talking about him. And I forgot who said this, but it's so true. What Mustache Man cannot achieve with his 1,000-year Reich in real life. These people let him achieve with their words. And he got his wish. His 1,000-year Reich has continued. He may even get there, These people just keep going on.
Yeah. I mean, I lost my thought, unfortunately. I've been having a couple beers since like 4. I don't know why, because I guess I don't know. I could lose some weight. I could cut back on the beer, but I don't know. I've been having fun. I've been replaying the Mass Effect trilogy. I just restarted 1 for the first time in like 7 years yesterday, and I think I sent you the picture. But there is literally a guy who looks exactly like Tim Pool in the game, beanie and all. The guy you meet at the docks in the first one, who like ran away so he could sleep behind the crates on the job. But it was actually really funny. Like, it's uncanny. It's actually Tim Pool in the game, but I digress. Back to what we were talking about, though. There are a lot of, I guess, people on the right who talk about fascism, and they're like, oh, the left are the real fascists. Like people like Dinesh D'Souza releasing that really bad PragerU video coping about how the left are actually fascist. It's like, no, have you actually talked to a modern neo-fascist before? They will identify as right-wingers. They're not trying to trick you. They are like legit right-wingers. It's like, shut up. Just because like they're like, it's like you don't have a monopoly on the right. There are more right-wing ideologies than there are left-wing ideologies by far. You can still denounce them and still admit that they are on the right. It's just, this is the problem with conservatism in America. They're just, it's a cope. It's one giant cope.
No, I would agree. Conservatives are a cope. It's like trying to save a sinking ship. What are you trying to conserve here? I mean, even the idea of like, what's conserve society? Conserve what exactly? Conserve gay pride parades, and then the revolution will stop there. It's like, no, it's like revolution will continue on.
It was like the funny Sargon meme from like 2 years ago. There's the conservative pride flag, which is the regular one, and the imperial pride flag, which is the one with all those weird colors. And like, for some reason, it includes like racial stuff now. It's like, what does this have to do with anything? It's like that term BIPOC. What do any of these things have to do with each other? It's like you are just like confirming that bio-Leninism is a thing.
No, they do it all the time when they create these words, or they recycle words and change their meanings like racist, white supremacist, fascist. These things have lost all of their original meaning and connotations. Now they're just blatant
Absolutely.
insults. And that's all they are.
And here's the thing: I feel like the term woke is kind of becoming the same thing to the boomer cons, because they'll call everything woke now. Like if there's one gay character in like a movie or a TV show or whatever, it's automatically woke. It's like just because a character just so happens to be gay, that's not what I would consider woke having to do with like LGBTQIABCDEFG stuff. What I'd consider that is if it's like being gay is like their entire character and they're trying to actually force an agenda. Like that is woke. But they're called, if it's like, and you'll have people saying, oh, look at this, there's like a black character who says like one thing about like being black or whatever, that this is like a woke movie. It's like, no, basically like what you're doing now is you're using woke in the same way. And I'm not talking to you, I just mean in general, specifically referring to like boomer cons. It's like if you're using the word woke to refer to all this like meaningless shit, you're basically using the word. It's basically like how the left is using racist or fascist to refer to meaningless shit. And I think that's kind of funny. And I just think that anti-SJWs have become parodies of themselves and are basically emulating SJWs now. And I think it's absolutely hilarious. Like I used to be a hardcore anti-SJW back when I actually cared about that. Like I guess I'm kind of like nihilistic when it comes to that stuff now. Like when it comes to woke stuff, I just think it's goofy. I just think it's goofy and I laugh at it. And that pisses them off even more than people like that. When you call them out and say you're just being silly, that actually pisses quote unquote SJWs more than like saying anti-SJW stuff, because you're basically demeaning them and saying they don't matter. And it's actually kind of entertaining.
Well, that's actually interesting. I wasn't aware of that dynamic, but yeah, I did notice that trend. Like whenever like the DR, the intellectual side of the right, the 20% that comes with all the ideas for the 80%, essentially. Whenever the normies like a term like woke, anti-SJW, trans kids, drag queen story hour, when these things get normalized, that's all they know, essentially, because they're essentially just mere versions of the left, buying into their own narratives, with their own intellectual class, setting out the parameters of the discussion and what is and what is not acceptable to talk about. But I feel like the problem with the right is just there's just so many. It's like 90% boomer cons and like feds. There's just a lot of this crowd who isn't great. So it becomes a lot more stale. And because we don't have any political power, you can't just like push this stuff through the TVs. It's not as effective.
Even Tucker's a boomer con. Like, I mean, he's a little less boomer con-y, but I mean, still, he's owned by the boomer cons at the end of the day.
Yeah, he still works for the Murdochs.
Exactly.
And there's still things he's not allowed to talk about, even though he is the most open person on cable TV.
Also, I think he sucks on economics. Like, and you're talking to like an Austrian guy here. So of course I think he sucks on economics. And you're a populist, so I think you definitely agree.
Well, I'm not a populist. I'm an absolute elitist, but
you go by American populist for the
yes,
optics?
That's just the name I chose.
It's a great. Okay, so you know what? I respect the grift. I can respect it. But either way, what was it we were going to talk? We were going to talk about the balloons too. I know, like you had.
Yeah, like I don't know what's going on. What's up with that? I guess Clown World wants us to focus on this now. This new thing. I'm not sure what the purpose of it is. Like, are they balloons? Like, are they Winnie the Pooh balloons? Or I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Do you have any theories about what the purpose of this is? Are they trying to distract from something?
Like, okay, I have three theories. Either China's preparing for war, they're just weather balloons, and this is propaganda, or we're preparing for first contact, and we are actually trying to like ease people into it through like the best narrative that people can help understand. I'm saying that completely unironically. Like, I don't mean to be some like Alex Jonesian type conspiracy theorist here, but like the amount of weird UFOs we're spotting and the amount of shit we're shooting down, it almost makes me wonder. That's the least likely out of the three, mind you. But like, I think it is a distinct possibility. And I say that as someone who's generally like skeptical about a lot of things. Like, I'm not a skeptic, I'm religious, but like, I say that as somebody who's kind of like an Occam's razor kind of guy. But like, I actually do think that that first contact might be in the cards.
I don't know. I think there's something to the balloons. I think China really found like a weakness because it's just like they really like just exploited our weakness. I mean, like, it's not like, oh, China's so superior. No, I mean, like, when you're led by furries, General Woke, I'm going to use this term on it. General Woke, Millie, I'm going to use that as an insult. And whatever that black guy's name is, when you have that cadre of idiots in charge of the military, I mean, can you really be surprised when they can't even shoot down a balloon? they can't
Not
even
really.
do that. But I think there's something psychological to it because it's like they wanted us to see it, right? I mean, like, they have satellites. It's not like they need a balloon to spy on whatever they want.
Which is why I feel like it could be something else. Like, that's the only thing. Otherwise, I'd probably believe the narrative, like, unironically. But balloons? Like, come on. Like, this has to be... There's something more to this. I don't know what it is, but there's got to be something more to this.
I mean, that is true. Cool man brings us to the point the balloon can fly way higher than the average fighter jet.
That's
but
fair.
They have satellites, so I'm not sure how many spy satellites China has, but also let's not forget that they control most of the software, and like they own a lot of our Congress anyway. So it's like,
See, I actually don't know. I actually don't know about that. The owning part of Congress, I feel like I don't know. I don't think there are I don't think that the Democrats are like as influenced by China as a lot of people say. Like, I just don't see their reasoning for it. Yeah, they might like shill to them for like woke reasons, or like, oh yeah, we want limited economic growth because of their corporations. But I don't think they're actually owned by the CCP. I think most people hate China probably more than Russia. Russia is just a boogeyman because we don't want to lose lucrative trade deals with China. And we have nothing economically to gain with Russia, which is why they are vilified as much as they are.
well, yeah, and it's like they're the only like I'll say right wing in quotation marks, right wing like country in Europe. One of the few, like, there's only a small group of countries in the world that aren't like U.S. puppet states, essentially.
You see, I don't even think that Russia qualifies as right wing. They're definitely not left wing, but I just think it's a completely different paradigm. There really is no ideology in Russia anymore. It's basically just power politics, and they'll like claim to be ideologies as a mass. But I do think that if Putin could restore the USSR and reinstate communism, if that were viable, he'd totally do that. I think that is his preference. However, he knows that that is not viable. He knows that that would not work. So he's playing within the rules. He's playing within the rules of liberalism's victorious edict, as Russia has been since the fall of the Iron Curtain. But Putin is fundamentally one thing. He's a Putinist. He doesn't see a Russia without him. I foresee two possibilities that will happen after Putin dies. Either he'll pick a leader who is as strong as he is to succeed him, who will hold everything together, Or if he doesn't do that, that will lead to infighting and the balkanization of Russia into several like successor states. But that would be bad. I almost feel like that would be worse, because more or less you'd end up seeing the world's very first failed nuclear superpower. And I think that is even more dangerous than like having another leader like Putin. And I say that as someone, I'm not pro Putin, but like I don't hate him either. I just think he's behaved rather pragmatically. Like, I think that the people of Ukraine, even though Ukraine isn't technically a real country, they're still sovereign. And they still have a right to defend themselves. They still have a right to be sovereign, to be separate from Russia. But at the same time, it is like if I were Putin and if I had Putin's interests as Putin, like, I mean, I probably would have invaded Ukraine too, because it is like, let's face it, and I'm speaking purely on the basis of realpolitik here. I'm speaking purely on the basis of pragmatism. Like, people will probably try to twist my words and say, "Oh, I'm pro-Russia for this," but no, Putin's like invasion of Ukraine, he has reasons to invade Ukraine, like strategic reasons. Like, for the same reason, like what if China was trying to destabilize Mexico or something, and it was trying to instate a puppet state in Mexico? Like, we'd have every reason to invade Mexico as well. This is just an objective fact. But
well, also you need to keep in mind that like Russia's population, just like ours, is just going down the drain fast. So like their opportunity to do things like this expansion wars, empire trying to revive the empire. Like, time is limited. I mean, it's the same thing with China, just on a longer time frame, which is probably why they're accelerating war plans, because they see that the U.S. is weak.
I do think China's going to collapse before the U.S., though.
Yeah, China's in a very bad situation, actually, because they're running out of water. Also, they have the worst like farm quality soil in the world, some of the worst. They need constant fertilizer, and there just isn't enough for them.
And as dangerous as I think the Chinese are, and as much as I do not like China or the PRC or anything like that, as much as I oppose them, they are in a lot of ways overplayed. They're kind of are a boogeyman. Like, they're seen as like this power on the rise. Oh, Thucydides is trapped. And to an extent, yeah, maybe that's true. But they're in a crisis right now. They're basically like at the end. Their civilization is even more in its death throes than the West is right now. And things are pretty bad in the West, as you and I know. But go to China, it's like probably 10 times worse. At least this is according to friends I have who are Chinese, friends I have who are even sympathetic towards the PRC. Like, China's not in a good spot right now.
No, I'm not worried about them in the long term. However, what I am worried about in the medium term is that they invade Taiwan, and then our leadership says we have to go and fight for Taiwan. And then nuclear exchange happens because either China just pours in men, or like the naval forces are too overwhelming on one side. So it's either like you have to use nukes essentially at that point. So that's the main concern I have with regarding to the China situation. Russia is more. We'll just have to see how it plays out.
Cool Man is right. I fucked up. I accidentally said PRC. I meant CCP.
That's right. Get it right. The Republic of China.
No, here's the thing though. So I don't support a war. But like, if I had to choose between defending Taiwan and defending Ukraine and sending U.S. support, I'd probably choose Taiwan over Ukraine.
Oh yeah, I would if I had the choice, because I despise Zelensky with a passion. But
I don't know. I just think he's like good for the memes. But what's funny is a lot of people don't realize, like, people talk about, like, I actually think that, and here's a hot take, Ukraine I think is a lot more right wing than Russia, and that's what I think is hilarious. how you have all the shit libs.
No, it is. It is actually socially. It is. If you look into it, it is
Like-
legitimately. This is
like
a fact.
like Zelensky is not a liberal. Like he is not a liberal. He's propped up by the liberal establishment, but he's to the right of most Republicans. That's what I find really funny.
Well, again, like,
At least on social issues, maybe not foreign policy, but on social issues.
before all of the media started to like fawn over Zelensky and want to like suck him off every single day, and the media. I'm just going to use that term. They were talking about how Ukraine has a mid-century German problem with summer camps. People may not remember that because they've been so overstimulated with Zelensky articles about how we're going to bring up our man Kevin Castley, how he wants him to fuck his wife because he's just so he's just so heroic. So these are the type of people who are buying into the narrative here, and they can't even remember what the narrative was about Ukraine before this even happened. With regards to the fun summer camps and Azov, which did exist, in fact, and there were quite a lot of them, especially in eastern Ukraine.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just Ukraine's like objectively and categorically, regardless of whether you support Ukraine or not, like Ukraine is a puppet state of the United States.
Oh,
like,
yeah, it is.
Like in practice, like it is a puppet state, and I don't understand how you couldn't say it's apparently you're not allowed to say that, and that's Russian propaganda to say it's a puppet state. But no, I'm just saying that as a fact. It's a puppet state. I mean, like I said, I think Ukraine has a right to defend itself, and it makes sense that they would lobby to the United States for support. Okay, that's fine. I say this from a purely like outside perspective. But they're still a puppet state. They are functionally a puppet state. I don't know why that is such a controversial thing to say. I'm not saying that to vilify them at all. I'm just saying they are a puppet state in the same way that Canada is a United States vassal.
No, I don't think it would be controversial to say that South Vietnam was an American puppet state, or South Korea was an American puppet state.
Yeah, it's part of the empire. Okay, cool, fine, whatever. I'm not necessarily an anti-imperialist. I mean, I'm anti-war, but I'm not an anti-imperialist.
No, I'm actually pro-empire. It's just that I don't like the ideology that runs the empire. Is my only problem with the empire.
Precisely, exactly.
That's the only issue I have with it. It's not like I'm one of these people where I root for Russia or China because they're trying to throw off Western hegemony. It's like, no, that's actually a good thing because have you seen these countries and what happens when they don't have the West governing them? It becomes total chaos and genocides happen. So we kind of have to be there, but I don't like the rainbows that we bring along with us. That's not a good thing. So we kind of have to get rid of that first. It's also weakening the empire too.
Look, I had a therapist once. He was from Ghana, and he told me about how the British Empire actually was good for Ghana. You would not understand how a lot of these West Africa countries, how much they the public supports Britain and likes Britain and fawns over them because they helped build up their economies and were good for their prosperity. I mean, yeah, you have the Belgians who fucked over the Congo, and that was the per capita, the biggest genocide in human history. The mainstream narrative will tell you that it was another one. And I do accept the Holocaust numbers. That's the thing. Because I know there are some people, I know some people who do question it, and it's okay, well, whatever. But the thing is, it's still also controversial to say that the Congolese genocide in the early 1900s was worse than the Holocaust, which it was. Not only was it objectively bigger per capita, but even in terms of raw numbers, it was possibly bigger in terms of raw numbers. But that doesn't fit the narrative. So I know that's a bit of a tangent, but it's just kind of a fun little fact. The Belgians and the Portuguese sucked as empires, but the British were pretty good. Things were pretty good under the British, but it is fashionable to hate the British Empire. And one of the lamest things is I don't hate Hawes, but his take on the British Empire and his take on China are just brain dead. And I think it's really embarrassing to see all these quote unquote MAGA communists.
No, I think they're even lamer than like boomer cons. They're
I
trying to
find-
combine.
I actually think that it is a consistent ideology. After I started having some MAGA communists on, I was like, okay, you know what? I don't agree, but this actually makes sense. And I'd rather see this left than the kind of left we have now. And again, I'm not a fan of Trump, but I think their dumbest position is the fact that they like Trump. Because let's face it, Trump is a con man, and he's not authentic. He's a scam artist, and I think it's become even more evident within the past year or so. I don't take him seriously. You might disagree. I don't know what your politics are with regards to like the MAGA, but he's not a serious person, and so that's what I criticize them on.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
He's a complete failure. Didn't help his guys out who showed up to January 6th. Let him rot in jail. Didn't help out his supporters. Didn't finish the wall. Gave money to more countries in the Middle East, over helping us. I mean, yeah, he did some good things. I'm not going to say he never did anything.
Oh,
good.
absolutely. I think
he did some good policies.
I think the justices. I think the justices were pretty good.
But the problem is he's just a cock. It's the problem with him. He's a cock. He's not.
Oh.
He isn't a Caesar figure like we need.
He's a '90s New York liberal. No, actually, even more so. I don't even think he has views. Like, if he could have won as a Democrat, he would have done that.
Well, he would have, but then he probably just ran as a Republican because Obama insulted him at like a dinner or something.
Obama, yeah, because number one, because Obama insulted him, and number two, because Republican voters are I do think the average Republican voter is stupider, and that's not even an insult. I'm not even saying that because I like the Democrat. I don't, but I do think the average Republican voter is just like more easily tricked.
I mean, I would tend to agree with you, but I would say it depends on the state and like the county.
Oh, yeah.
But probably on average, maybe you're probably right. I'm sure there's some blue states where the majority of people are dumb, but because the cities attract all the high IQ people, it kind of skews the numbers. But regardless, though, Zion Dawn has not exactly been the most successful. He wasn't the
Zion Dawn. I like that.
Yeah, he's a Zion Dawn. He's Zion Dawn. Zion Dawn hasn't exactly been the conservative savior we all thought he would be. That would stop the revolution.
I take DeSantis over Trump. I'd take DeSantis over Trump, and I don't even particularly love DeSantis, but he'd be miles better than Trump, in my opinion.
Well, I'm kind of ambivalent about the issue just because I saw what happened in 2020 and 2022. And honestly, I'm an elite theorist, so I'm elections don't matter. The plebs don't matter at all.
I studied public choice theory, so I'm an elite theorist too. So I think
your voice doesn't matter at all. Only the elites matter. That's all we need to be focusing on, is getting those people out of the crazies, the influence. And that's when you'll actually see change. You won't see it with mass movements. I think we kind of saw the limits of that in 2016. The regime effectively countered that. And which is why we won't see it again.
They basically stole Trump.
Well, yeah.
And it almost makes me, and here's the real black pill. It makes me sad because I really liked Ron Paul, but they probably would have done the same to Ron Paul, who was a genuine, who kind of like Bernie Sanders, and I disagree with Bernie Sanders on a lot, but like Bernie Sanders, Ron Paul was very genuine with his politics. But were either Bernie or Ron Paul elected during their respective campaigns, they would have probably both also been co-opted by the establishment. Because the thing is, there is a deep state. It does exist. Call it what you want. I call them. I just call them the Neo-Praetorians because that's what they are. But the Neo-Praetorians would have co-opted them.
Yeah,
too.
the FDR deep state. Yeah,
exactly. Managerial Revolution, which happened back in the 30s and 40s. I'm sure you probably read Burnham, so I assume. But
Well, I haven't read his book, but I know the basics.
Okay,
It's kind of simple to understand. Once you understand elite theory, you kind of understand how
it's
power
like
and politics functions.
It's like even if you've never read Burnham and you're an elite theorist, you know what Burnham like. You basically know his ideas because he was more so articulating them as opposed to theorizing them. But yeah, more or less.
Let's get some more fun topics. Like, do you think Clown World ever ends, or do you think we're just like we're stuck in the clown show for the next like 200 years? Like some people, AA was like, it's over. The Caesar moment came and over. It happened with Franco. It's over. Now we're in the bad ending forever. Do you think like it's we're never getting out of the clown show?
I don't know. Continue? Like I actually think that 2016 was a worse year than 2020. I won't get into that, but Clown World is worse than it was in 2016, but 2016 is when it started. And I remember 2014 was when he first started seeing the vestiges of it. It was the first time I saw like a quote unquote woke person online, and I thought this person was a troll. That's the funny thing. I didn't know this person was serious. Here's the thing. I was on this website. I used to be a very active member of this website. I'll just say what it was. It was called the Young Writers Society. I posted a lot in the forums. And then I was accused of wanting to genocide billions of trans people. Like this was not a troll. This was somebody being, and all I said was like, isn't it technically like a mental illness? And I was just asking questions. And this person was going insane. It was funny. I think the posts are probably still there. I could probably pull it up, but it would probably take a while. I'm not going to go ahead and do that right now. But God, that was the first thing of like the first time I ever saw like wokeness. And it was a riot. Like it pissed me off at the time, but it was funny. So
it's actually kind of funny because I noticed wokeness a lot earlier than most people did. I kind of noticed it in Obama's second term. That's when I really felt like everything would change.
That was Obama's second term, though. That was like about a year and a half.
No, it was like in 2012 is when I really felt it.
Okay, I mean, the politically correct stuff, sure. But, like, what's funny is even the most left-wing people, like, we could, like, everyone used the term tranny back then to refer to trans people, and it was not controversial. But, like, I said it, and I guess because I went back to school after taking a few years off. And even in 2015, like, which is when wokeness and SJW stuff and like the feminists and stuff was at its height. And I was in my hardcore anti-SJW phase after getting Sargon pilled back in those days. But that was when I was in that phase. But there were things then, like, I mean, wokeness was just feminism back then. That's pretty much all it was. But it's gotten so crazy now. It's like when I went back to school and I basically started being surrounded by Zoomers, because I'm like at the very end of being a millennial. Like I'm right at the cutoff. But I remember I was in this Discord group for like other English majors, and I said something that would have been super woke back in 2015. I said, I will use whatever pronoun you want as long as it's a real pronoun. Has to be he, she, or they. I can't be bothered to like remember any of these like other weird quote unquote neo pronouns or whatever the hell they're called. And I'll just say they if you identify by one of these weird things because that encompasses it. I was literally banned from a Discord group that I helped start with other English majors. And it was the funniest thing. It was just weird. It's like these are not serious people. And it almost makes you wonder, are these people going to outgrow this shit? I think they will.
I don't think so at all.
I actually think I think they will outgrow it. And this isn't me being an optimist. I mean, they're always going to be woke. But it almost makes you wonder, when they're like 50, they're going to look back and they're going to be like, I wasn't a serious person. I was a joke. And I don't know. Maybe that's just wishful thinking.
I don't know. I think they'll be happy with the metaverse and other pods. I think most of them will be happy with that.
I'm honestly at this point, and I say this as somebody who's a libertarian, but I am like pro Butlerian jihad at this point. We need to stop. We need to destroy this AI shit that's happening right now. It's actually starting to scare me. I say that semi-jokingly, but I don't know. I think so. Not only do we have anarcho-tyranny right now, where people are allowed to riot in the streets, and I say this both with regards to the BLM riots in 2020 and even the Capitol, the Boomer Hall Putsch, as I call it, which was the Capitol storming. But like, it's anarcho-tyranny. Basically, there are legitimate gripes that like the Black community like might have towards police brutality, because it's like, yeah, okay, there is excessive force that is used. They are people. They like, I'm not saying it's necessarily, I think it's more of a police brutality issue than it is a race issue in general, because the mentally ill are even more disproportionately targeted than Blacks. But either way, so yeah, there are genuine gripes to be had. But the thing is, even if there's like a legitimate criminal and the police tries to stop them non-violently, but then shoots them because that's all there is, people riot. And it's like, you're making saints out of scumbags. There was a cop, I think it was in, I forget where it was somewhere in Pennsylvania about 2 years ago. There was this African-American, quote-unquote, gentleman who was on meth, who had a big-time criminal record, who had like, was a serial rapist, who'd been let out of jail. And he started charging at a cop with a knife. The cop told him to stop, and then the cop started running away. He started running away because he knew what would happen if he shot this guy. The guy was fast. He caught up to him. The cop had no choice but to shoot. You know what happened?
He got put in jail.
No, the cop wasn't put in jail, but there was a riot, and they burned down a bunch of businesses. They don't even look into the context. And Jacob Blake, who the Kenosha riots, where you had Kyle Rittenhouse, who mowed down those pedos who were assaulting him in self-defense.
Dig out some trash.
Those riots happened because a cop, now again, I do think he used excessive force, the cop, but that doesn't change the fact that the guy that he shot was a scumbag. This guy was a scumbag. He tried to kidnap his ex-girlfriend's children and pulled a knife on the cop. It's like, what are you going to expect? Why are you trying to die on this hill? This isn't making you look good. And you know what? And the government allows them to. It is, I don't know if you've ever read Sam Francis, but this is anarcho-tyranny. That's what we're in right now.
Well, yeah, I think we saw this with Chaz. I mean, like, just imagine
that was
for
funny.
5
Funny.
sequence.
Chaz was funny.
It was literally supported by the
every
government.
Second of that.
It was. I remember, like, the city of Seattle gave them porta potties, gave them food or whatever, and protected them as they, destroyed a block of downtown Seattle. I don't care about Seattle, but I'm just saying, imagine for 5 seconds a group of right wingers tried to do something like that. Immediately, the military would be sent in to crush the rebellion, as the media would call it, and they would be praised for it. But again, this is the double standards of the narrative, essentially.
I mean, I think both are like wrong to do, but yeah, the double standards fucked up.
Well, it's not just double standards; it's power dynamics.
They know what they're doing too. They know what they're doing, they know what they're doing too. Even if it were like a DeSantis presidency, they'd still treat the right-wing insurgents worse than they would the left-wing insurgents.
I don't know. Do you see like a red Caesar? Here's what I'm thinking is going to happen. I think we're going to get somebody like Joseph Stalin. I think that's the best case scenario. I mean, like, as much as I want trad, right wingers going to come and save America, like, I think it's too far gone at that point. We're going to need somebody who's going to have to speak the commie rhetoric. We need somebody like Stalin, essentially, who's going to stop the revolution.
MAGA communists unironically think it's going to be Haas, which is kind of funny.
No, it's not going to be Cheeto beard guy.
Yeah,
I really don't think so.
I mean, I definitely prefer him to Hassan Piker, but still, it's funny.
I don't know. Do you think
Like,
the Red Caesar is the most likely option at this point?
No, I don't think it's. I think it's going to be an independent. I don't think it's going to be either from either party. This is just a hunch. Like, again, I have nothing to back this up, but this is just kind of what I feel is going to happen. It's going to be an outsider or somebody who co-ops a party similar to Trump, but is more successful at it. But I don't think it's really going to be. It might be somebody like not a left or right person. It might be somebody closer to like Huey Long. That's what I predict.
That's interesting. That could be very interesting, actually. It could be somebody like him. We probably need somebody like that. But they need to understand like bureaucracies and like how to like just like install your own like essentially permanent bureaucratic state, and like get rid of the entire bureaucracy, like FDR did, which is why he'll be remembered as the guy who started the American Revolution, as I'll call it, and still was the most successful person at that.
Looks like my girl Yiz is in the chat. How you doing, Yiz?
Howdy Yiz, our favorite Yiz. I don't know. What do you think is going to happen with this AI thing? Do you think like they're going to be successful and like they're going to force us to get the brain chips like Elon Musk, and like
we're already moving towards like a Black Mirror future.
Well, what do you think we do about it?
I don't know. And honestly, I don't even really want to think about it. I know that's like sounds sad, but you know what I mean. I feel like we should probably, because I don't know how long you go. I assume you usually go for like a little over an hour.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to end by talking about you know who.
Of course, we're gonna bring up. I'll let you go ahead and bring him up.
I want to ask the chat this question. Does everybody know a fine gentleman by the name of Kevin Castley? I'm just waiting for chat responses here.
Just explain it to them because they probably won't.
Probably. No, but everyone's heard of Kevin. No. He's a cringe neocon, anti-theist who's just... He used to be a neocon. Now he's a liberal hawk. And God. Where to begin? He causes so much drama. He shills. He's Canadian. He pretends to support the working class. He doesn't believe in diplomatic solutions. He actually thinks that the best thing to do is to go in a guns a-blazing and just invade every country on earth. He also doesn't think America is an empire. He blocked me for saying America is categorically an empire. And I wasn't even saying that that's a bad thing. Like, I don't know. He's just an embarrassing person. Like, nobody likes him. And he alienates everyone he talks about. I tried to be his friend, too. But he'll dox people. He's just a bully. But he's also embarrassing. Like, it must be embarrassing to be Kevin Castley. And I feel sorry for him.
I would say so. When your wife, when your wife wants to fuck Zelensky more than you, it's like, wow, you're absolutely pathetic.
I don't think he's married, but like.
Well, when he was, I don't know how that even happened in the first place.
Whoa! Kevin Castley was married?
Well, yeah, he said he wanted Zelensky to come fuck his wife because, like, he couldn't do it, and he couldn't do it well enough.
No, wait, when did he say this? No. What?
Do I have a picture of the tweet? I might have a picture of the tweet.
No.
He had a picture of Zelensky in the Avenger outfit saying, I want this man to come fuck my wife because he'll do it right. Or something like that. That's the only thing I know about this guy.
Well, he doesn't actually have... I don't think he's actually married. At least, like, I think he's single. And he works at a grocery store as a bagger because he wants to feel what it's like to be working class. And it's hilarious.
He should really be in the pigsty because that's where he belongs. Shoveling pig crap all day.
That's his dharma. That is his caste.
Yeah, he should be, honestly. We need to like enforce the caste system, essentially, with these people. Like, honestly...
The Eolian way.
Yeah, some of these people should not be allowed any privileges at all in society. They shouldn't be allowed on media. They shouldn't have a bank account. They should only be like slaves. That's it. Honestly, that's all they're good for.
Well, I mean, that might be like what they're good for, but I wouldn't say that they should be slaves. But
no, I think
I know it.
so.
I know what you mean.
They're natural
May-
slaves, as Aristotle said.
Well, no, maybe in the Aristotelian sense, not in the chattel like 16th through 19th century sense, but definitely in the Aristotelian sense.
I mean, I don't know what very used for these people. I mean, yeah, it's funny to laugh at them, but like, they're still like eating and using up resources, and like,
my favorite meme that somebody made of Kevin Castley. I don't even know what it is, but hold on, I need to send it to you, and I want you to share it with the rest of the group. Like do a screen share because it's hilarious.
okay.
I just need to send this to you. Somebody literally made it in DeviantArt.
I already know it's gonna be bad then.
Well, share it in private chat. It's so dumb, but
it's not letting me bring it up for some reason.
You can't click the link? Oh.
It says token not valid. All right, let me know when you can find me some of that image you want, but
for now. Token not valid. That's weird. Okay, hold on. I'll send this. I'll just send you the regular link.
Okay. Okay, let me go ahead and share this. Share a screen. And it looks like we got this is what you would call the bottom class, the untouchables right here. Physiognomy check.
And I even made a joke comparing him to a Nazi. It was like, "Hallo, ich bin Kevin Castley. Willkommen." Like, what was it? Like something superpower broadcasting. I don't know. It was funny, but yes. But Kevin Castley, he's a bully. Honestly, I don't believe in harassment, but it's Kevin Castley. So like.
I do. You need to bully people.
No, I'm just saying. Go raid his Facebook. I mean, not his Facebook. His Twitter. He has some cringe takes. Like, I had a friend who was speed running a ban or a Kevin Castley block, and I told him to create an account and call it like MAGA Groiper 1488, and he got banned within like 20 minutes, and it was funny. And he was just shit posting, and Kevin freaked out. He actually thought this guy was like a Nazi. But the thing is, like, most of the quote unquote Nazis you see on Twitter are just fucking.
They're pretty
trolls.
moderate. They're actually moderate.
They're mostly centrists and libertarians who are just trolling people.
Yeah, but again, to the crazies, everything that's saying seems insane.
What is it? Poe's law. We've actually reality. I've always said 20, and this goes back to what we're talking about, Clown World. In 2016, parody and reality were put into the Large Hadron Collider and combined, and now a CNN article today is what an Onion article was 10 years ago, and that is the reality we live in.
No, I would agree. Although I feel like we're beyond parody of like what 2016, like imagining how far the wokeness would go.
Oh yeah, it's just silly. It's just silly. I don't take these people seriously, and I don't know. I just don't take these people seriously. They're just silly, and they're not serious people, and they're not worth my time. And whenever I'm arguing with one, the best way to shut somebody down on Twitter is to just make them think that you're having the conversation on your terms. And if they say something absolutely stupid, you know how you end the conversation? You know what line you use? It works every time. Just say, you are clearly not a serious person to engage with. I'm wasting my time. This exchange is over. Period. And then they don't know how to respond to that. I don't know how that's so simple to do it, but like it makes it seem like you're the Chad in this conversation. You're ending the conversation on your terms.
I
Like
just don't interact with them.
I've come to the point where I just troll them. I've come to the point where I don't interact with them. Like, okay, there was this lady. She was a communist, a hardcore anti-theist, and yeah, she had hashtag like vote like black women, hashtag BLM, hashtag reparations now, hashtag Nazi lives don't matter, shit like that. And she was African American, I know, which is relevant to the story, but she started tweeting about how like the Nazis were like a Christian movement and about how Christianity was the cornerstone of Nazism, which is hilarious because even neo-Nazis will tell you that that is not the case. And like, what motivation do neo-Nazis, like people who unironically identify as neo-Nazis, what motivation do they have to say that they're Christian? Which is fine. It's just, it makes no sense. So she wanted them to be Christian because she hates religion so much, and she thinks Christianity is inherently racist. Even though wokeism actually is the grandson of Christianity. Like wokeism would not exist were it not for Christianity, mimetically speaking. That's a conversation for a different time. But so she was talking about how like atheism like needs to grow within the black community, and I will fight for like all my life to make sure that blacks in America become atheists and liberate themselves from the white supremacist chain of Christianity. And so my reply was, atheism is a form of white privilege. That was my response, which I unironically believe it's basically a white phenomenon that emerged out of the Enlightenment, and like Christianity, particularly Protestantism in the U.S. However, in Africa, a lot of it is Catholic, but it is an integral part of like black identity in the United States. And so I'm saying, started telling her, you are an internalized racist, and you are supporting the whiteification and secularization of the black community. You are an internalized racist. And I kept responding to that, like every single, whenever they tried to cite statistics or make an argument, that's just what I would reply. They were taking up so much time, and they were seething inside. And it was the funniest thing ever.
Yeah, at this point, you kind of gotta laugh at the insane world around us. Otherwise, you're just gonna go crazy. I'm at that point where you have to laugh at it because there's nothing else you can do at this stage.
They're just not serious people. They might think they are, but they're not.
No, they're not serious people, but the people who actually govern and push their ideology are serious people, and they're a threat.
And that's the problem. That's the problem.
And they're just tools to be used. They're not what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about the puppets behind pulling the strings. You know what I mean?
And here's the thing: they don't even care about this stuff. They're just cynical. It's like, do you really think these corporations? Do you really think Disney? It's just like, do you really think they care about gay pride, Black Lives Matter, all this stuff? It's a grift. And people fall for it. And it's the funniest thing. It's sad. It's concerning. But just from a black-pilled perspective, it's entertaining.
Yeah, I would agree in leaving that off. You have anything white-pilling to kind of take our mind off of the Chinese balloons, the possible alien invasion, and like our railroads becoming third world? You got anything white-pilling to tell us to leave the audience with?
Yeah, I say this as somebody who is a libertarian, but public transit's pretty good. Like buses, at least where I'm from. That's the closest thing to a white pill I can find.
All right. Is there anything you'd like to show before we kind of close out the stream today?
Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't think of a better white pill, but like public transit is probably the least bad public utility. But either way, yeah, I'm the Politicrat on Twitter. However, my last account was banned. I actually had 2 accounts banned. My first account was banned for calling Charlie Kirk a retard. My second account was banned because I called the Chinese foreign minister Mushu, because he looked like Mushu from Mulan. And also, I told him I hope his entire regime collapses and dies a slow, painful death. Apparently, he can. Well, because I replied to that because he was concerned trolling and was saying America's such a racist country and hates black people. And it's like, dude, China's so racist that they don't even have a concept of racism. It's like, shut the fuck up. Stop with your concern trolling. But so I got banned. What's funny is 3 weeks later, after I cursed out China, COVID started. So my headcanon is that I actually cursed COVID, and COVID is all my fault. But so I created another one after I took a few months to go touch grass. But instead of an L in the Politicrat, it's a capital I. So maybe that's why not as many people have been able to find me. But I'm there. And then subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do live streams kind of like this one. I also have a long form show called the Political Pigpen, in which I bring on a panel, usually ideologically diverse. It's harder to get leftists on these days. The only leftist I usually can get on are either MAGA communists or the woman, the myth, the legend herself, Ray Murasamy. I'm sure you guys all know who that is. But so yeah, I do that stuff. I make long form video essays. Currently working on 2. One of them is on Samuel Huntington's The Clash of Civilization. That's probably going to be about an hour long. The second one is why Frozen is actually the most trad movie ever made, and we should actually reclaim it for ourselves. I'm not even kidding. I make good arguments on that. That might sound insane, but like it is about the Faustian spirit, unironically. And I think it's like even if it's actually not, we should still claim it for ourselves. And I think it would be really funny, just the reaction people get. That's a different story for another time. But yeah, no, I have a YouTube channel. Please subscribe to me. I'm almost to 1,000 subscribers. I need like about 100, like 30 more before I get to 100. But yeah, no, that's me. That's me in a nutshell. I'll probably be releasing more content soon. Might do a live stream within the next week. I'm kind of overdue for one because I'm a lazy son of a bitch. But yeah, no, that's about it.
All right. And if you do find anything Mr. Politicrat is interesting, if you want to go check out his content, the links are in the description. And if you did enjoy this podcast, did enjoy this show, please drop me a sub. It's greatly appreciated, and leave a comment. I always appreciate it. And remember, guys, the light can't last forever. Keep your hopes up.